This week, I reviewed number 75, the episode The Turnabout Intruder. The final one, the final episode of the original series. This one, kind of a strange episode, wasn't a true series finale because they didn't really do a whole lot of those back in 1969 when they did this episode. But this one, the Enterprise went to a planet where there was some sort of radiation problem. Spock, McCoy, and Kirk beamed down to the planet. There's this woman named Janice Lester there, and a doctor named Dr. Coleman. And they're like, this woman's been hit with radiation. And McCoy says, what type of radiation? And the doctor's like, I don't know. I'm just a doctor. I don't know these things. McCoy's like, oh, okay. Kirk apparently knew the lady. He told her the doctor's orders were that she didn't say a single word, even though McCoy hadn't said anything at all about the patient yet. And Spock and McCoy were like, oh yeah, there's like 700 people with radiation poisoning, we better save them. So they walk off for a couple of minutes, and Kirk immediately starts talking to the woman, even though he had just told her the doctor's orders were that she didn't say a word and just laid there. He was very conflicted on that, apparently. We find out that the woman was mad because apparently Starfleet didn't allow women captains, and she wanted to be a captain, and she dated Kirk to try to get to a captaincy, then found out Starfleet wouldn't allow it, and Kirk was like, so, I'm a man, so everything worked out fine. Very not 2020 friendly conversation going on. Then the woman apparently had some sort of alien device. She has Kirk go into this device, and then they Freaky Friday each other. So the woman is in Kirk's body, Kirk is in the woman's body, then Kirk in the woman's body lays back down on the bed and just moans and makes weird faces for the next several minutes of the episode. While the woman's like, finally, I can be a captain. I'll be Captain Kirk, and they'll think I'm Captain Kirk, even though I don't know anything about captaining a starship, and I've never been on board the Enterprise, so it'll be strange when I have to ask everybody, where do I find the bridge? But that was her plan, apparently. The Doctor, Spock, and McCoy come back, and they're like, ah, all those people died, I guess we're good to go. All at once, apparently. Just all dropped dead, same exact time. Within a minute. It was very strange. But they all beam back. And then, of course, the woman in Kirk's body acting strangely. She doesn't want the actual Captain Kirk in the woman's body to regain control. So she puts Dr. Coleman on the case. Says McCoy doesn't have the authority, and he's like, I'm the chief medical officer. And Kirk's like, yeah, but this guy that apparently didn't know anything about radiation minutes ago and failed to save 700 people, we'll put him in charge. McCoy wasn't happy. That's the way it went. The woman kept acting strangely. Spock got suspicious. And the woman in Kirk's body kept throwing people in the brig and confining them to quarters and so forth and so on. It eventually got to the point she wanted to court-martial Spock, and then she decided capital punishment. And all the rest of the crew were like, but that's outlawed except for the one violation, and no one's gone to that planet to get capital punishment. And the woman was like, I'm the captain, I can do what I want. I'll execute everybody on this ship if I have to if they question me. The ship's mine, all mine. McCoy and Scotty, they plan a mutiny. They're going to mutiny to get the ship away from who they still thought was Kirk. That didn't work. He's going to execute them as well. While they're all in the brig, the Freaky Friday device stops working, so they keep floating back and forth between each other's bodies. Finally, Kirk gets back into the right body, and the woman, Dr. Lester's like, foiled again, now I'll never be a starship captain. And then they put the Dr. Coleman in charge of her care. He's like, I'd like to be in charge of her care if that's fine. And they're like, that's fine. No problem with you doing that, even though you were in collusion to commit murder. Probably a dozen other crimes. They were like, that's fine. That's fine. Some interesting notes on this one. This was the final episode aired, not the final episode produced. It got preempted a couple of weeks due to Dwight Eisenhower's death. They had to preempt it and then air it later, so that's how it got the series finale spot. The woman that played Janice Lester and the guy that played Dr. Coleman both quit acting at an early age in the late 70s. We've seen a rash of that in season 3, where some of the guest stars only acted for about 6 to 10 more years and then just stopped, even though they weren't that old. Uhura not in this episode, but Angela, who had been in a couple of other episodes, including Balance of Terror, where she was supposed to get married, and then Shore Leave, where she was on the planet that had all the, like, what eventually became holodeck stuff happen. Like, she was back as communications officer for the episode. She was also the stenographer in the court-martial case. She sure was. So, this concluded the original series, so I guess next time we'll be back with the next generation.